Welcome to Learning with UNP. In this session of Business Intelligence with Power BI, we are going to work on an end-to-end project that includes data transformation for the Maven Market dataset. Here is what you will learn today. How to import data into Power BI, parameterizing file paths for flexibility, performing essential data transformations like fixing date columns, validating data types, and appending datasets, loading the transformed data back into Power BI, and finally, saving your work to complete the process. The first step is to bring the dataset into Power BI. We are currently in the Power BI desktop. Click on Transform Data to navigate to the Power BI Query Editor. In here, we will import Maven Market dataset that contains multiple tables such as transactions, returns, regions, stores, customers, and products. To do this, click on New Source, choose CSV, and browse your system to find the Maven Market dataset tables. Start from Customers. Once selected, a preview of data and a range of options are here to manage it. Click on OK. Let's import all the tables like this. Now that dataset is loaded, we will parameterize the file paths. By the way, what is parameterization? Parameterization in Power BI allows us to make our queries dynamic and flexible by defining parameters that can be easily updated or changed without altering the query structure manually. This is particularly useful when dealing with scenarios like switching between different data sources, example files, databases, filtering data dynamically, running reports across multiple datasets. Parameterization is important because of its flexibility. Parameters make it easier to manage and modify reports without diving into the technical query logic each time. Efficiency. It saves time and effort when working with multiple datasets or environments. Control. You can pass inputs dynamically to adjust the dataset or query results. Now let's create a parameter. We are currently in the Home tab. Click on Manage Parameters. Click on New Parameter. In the dialog box, give the parameter a name. Let's give it as File Path. Choose the type as text. Let suggested value be any value. In the current value, you must put the path of your datasets. Click OK. Over here, remove the quotations at the front and back. And put a backslash. We have successfully created the parameter. Now, let's apply this parameter to the dataset tables using two methods. Let's start with the Maven Market Customers dataset table. Method 1 is using the gear icon beside source in the Applied Steps pane. Click on the gear icon. In the dialog box that appears, click on Advanced. In the first file path, copy the dataset name. Remove the file path from here and paste it here. Over here, mention the parameter name that we have just created and change it to parameter. The preview will show the parameter name followed by the table name. Click OK to apply the changes. Now let's use the second method on Maven Market Products dataset table. Let's go to Advanced Editor. Over here, we are able to view the M code. Let's locate the path where the table name is there. It is here, Maven Market Products.csv. Let's modify this path by inserting the parameter name in the place of the hard-coded value, that is this. Let's remove it. The parameter name is file path. Space. Use the symbol ampersand. Click on Done. The changes have been applied. Now we must do the same for all the remaining dataset tables. Let's follow the second method as it's quick to do so. We are done with the parameterization. Now comes the most exciting and important part, data transformations. This step ensures that our data is clean, consistent, and ready for analysis. Let's check, validate each and every column's data type and fix it to the correct data type if required. When data is loaded into Power BI, the tool uses its built-in intelligence to automatically detect the data types for each column. However, as users, it's important for us to verify if Power BI has correctly detected these data types or no. If they're incorrect, we need to change them. Let's go through this process step by step. First, let's examine Customer ID column in Maven Market Customers table. Look at the values in this column. Since the values are integers, that is whole numbers like 1 to 3, the correct data type should be whole number. In this case, Power BI has correctly identified it as whole number. So we don't need to make any changes. The first column is done. Now let's look at the second column, that is customer account number column. Again observe the data. Since it consists of numeric values without decimals, this should also be whole number. Power BI has already set the data type to whole number. So we can move on. Now, let's move on to the columns that contain text data, starting with first name, last name, customer city, customer state province, and customer country. Each of these columns contains text, meaning letters or words. Power BI has identified them as text, which is correct. You can see the symbol ABC indicating that it is text data type, so no changes are needed here either. Let's now look at the customer address column specifically. This column contains a mix of text and numbers such as street numbers combined with street names. Even though it's a mix, this is considered as text data type because the combination of alphabets and numbers forms an address. Power BI has correctly identified this as text ABC, so it is good to go. Along with these columns, we also have other columns with text data type. They are marital status, gender, education, member card, occupation, and homeowner. All of these columns contain textual information like words. So Power BI has correctly identified them as text ABC. So no changes are required here as well. Now moving on to the yearly income column. In this case, the column contains dollar symbols, the letter K indicating thousands, hyphens and numbers. While it may seem complex, it is still considered textual information because of the combination of symbols and characters. Therefore, Power BI has correctly identified this column as text, which is appropriate. So no changes are needed here. Moving on to the date columns such as birth date and account open date. At first glance, we'll examine birth date. This column should be date, but if you notice, Power BI has identified it as text. But why? This happens because the format of dates in the dataset is month, day, year, which is not the default format for our region, India. Here we typically use day, month and year. To fix this, we will need to manually set the data type to date using the correct locale method. To do this, select the date column, click on change data type, then choose using locale. In the dialog box, select date as data type, and for the region, we'll choose English United States, since the format aligns with the US region. Once we apply this, Power BI will correctly interpret the data as date. Let's do the same for account open date column. Click on change data type, choose using locale. In the dialog box that appears, choose date as data type, and the region is English United States. Click OK. Finally, let's check total children, number of children at home, and customer postal code columns. These columns contain numeric values that represents counts. Power BI has identified them as whole number, which is correct. So no further changes are necessary here. We must validate all the data types of all columns in the other tables too. Now let's move on to Maven Market Products table. The first column is Product ID column. This column contains numeric values, therefore the data type is whole number. Next we have product brand and product name columns. These columns contain textual information, that is words. Therefore, the data types are set to text. Here comes product SKU column. This column contains numeric values which are whole numbers and the data type is whole number, so it's correct. Over here we have product retail price, product cost and product weight columns. This column have decimal values. So the data type must be decimal number and Power BI has correctly identified the data type as decimal number. So no changes are required here as well. Over here, we have two columns named recyclable and low fat. These columns contain values like 1 and null. And the data type Power BI has identified for these columns is whole number, that is 1, 2, 3 represented here. However, if you look closely just below the column name, you'll notice that there's a line with brown color showing that there are empty values. That is 45% of the data is empty. Over here we have 64% empty values. Now let's talk about how we handle these null values. We simply can't remove them because doing so could result in losing important data from the other columns in the same rows. For example, let's say if a row has null in recyclable but contains valuable information in other columns. So deleting that row means that we are losing information entirely. Here, to maintain integrity and ensure consistency, we can replace these null values with 0. This works because null in this context might logically imply that absence of property, such as not being recyclable or not being low fat. Replacing it with 0 also ensures that our column remains a whole number without any gaps in the data. Now, in order to replace this null with 0, we follow this way. We are currently in Transform tab. Click on Replace Values. The value to find would be null. And we would like to replace null with 0. So type 0. Click on OK. You can see here, null values are replaced with 0. Let's do the same for low fat column. Click on the column. Click on Replace Values. Value to find is null. Replace with a 0. Click on OK. By doing this, we ensure that our data is clean, consistent, and ready for analysis without removing any important rows. With this, we are done with validating columns data types of Maven Market products table. Now let's move on to Maven Market regions. In region ID column, we have numerical values and the data type is whole number. It's correct. Over here, we have sales district and sales region. If you can see here, there are textual information in these two columns and the data type Power BI has identified is also text. Therefore, no changes are required here as well. Now let's move on to Maven Market returns. If you can see here, the first column is return date, but the data type is text. So we need to change it to date. Choose the column, click on change data type, choose using locale. In the dialog box that appears, change the data type to date and the region to English United States. Click OK. Over here we have three columns, product ID, store ID and quantity. All of these columns contain numerical values and the data type is set to whole number already. So no changes are required here as well. Now let's look at Maven Market stores table. First column is store ID, there are numerical values and the data type is whole number. It's correct. Second column is region ID. Here also we have numerical values and data type is whole number. It's fine. In the third column, that is store type, we have textual information, that is words, and the data type is text. It's correct. Over here we have two columns, named, store name and store street address. In these two columns, the values are combination of textual information and whole numbers. So the data type must be text and Power BI has already identified it as text. Therefore, it's correct. Moving on to next columns. They are store city, store state and store country. These three columns have textual information and the data type is also text. Therefore, it's correct. In the store phone column, the values are combinations of numerical values and special characters. Therefore, the data type must be text and it is set text only. It's correct. If you look at last columns, total square feet and grocery square feet, the values are numerical values and the data type is also whole number. Therefore, no changes are required here as well. Moving on to first open date and last remodel date columns. These two columns contain date values, but the data type is set to text in both the columns. So we need to fix it. Choose the column, click on change data type, choose using locale, set the data type to date and the region to English United States. Click OK. The same process will follow to fix this. Choose the column, click on change data type, choose using locale. The data type must be date. The region must be English United States. Click OK. So we are done with Maven Market Stores table. Now let's move on to Maven Market Transactions 1997 table. The first column is transaction date and the data type is also set to date, so no changes are required. The second column is stock date, but the data type is set to text, so we need to fix it. Choose the column, click on change data type, choose using locale. The data type must be date. The region is English United States. Click OK. If you can see here, the last four columns are product ID, customer ID, store ID and quantity. All the four columns have numerical information, but the data types are set to text, so we need to change it to whole number. Choose the column, click on change data type, Choose whole number. The same must be followed for other three columns too. So we are done with Maven Market transaction 1997. Let's move on to Maven Market transaction 1998. First column is transaction date. The data type is also date. It's correct. Second column is again stock date, but the data type is text. We need to fix it. Over here also we have product ID, customer ID, store ID and quantity columns with numerical information. But the data types are set to text. We need to fix it. So we need to change it in whole number. Click on the column, click on change data type, choose whole number. And we are finally done with Maven Market transaction 1998 data also. If you can observe, the columns in Maven Market transaction 1998 and Maven Market transaction 1997 are exactly the same. Transaction date, stock date, product ID, customer ID, store ID and quantity. The only difference is the year of the data, 1997 in one table and 1998 in another table. Since the structure is identical, we can append these two tables into a single table that contains all transactions from both the years. This will allow us to work with the entire dataset seamlessly without switching between separate tables. Here is how we do it. We are currently in the Home tab. We can find Append Queries option in the ribbon. Click on it. We'll see two options, Append Queries and Append Queries as New. Append Queries adds rows to an existing query, whereas Append Queries as New creates a new query with the appended data. Let's select Append Queries as New to create a new combined table. In the Append Queries as New dialog box, we already have selected Maven Market Transaction 1997 as the first table. So now we need to select Maven Market Transaction 1998 as second table to be appended. Click on OK. Let's check whether appending happens successfully or not by clicking on column profiling based on entire dataset. Then we'll be able to identify whether we can see the data from both the tables or no. But it's giving an error here. Let's see what the error is. Click on the drop down. Click on load more. The error is that date format error. We couldn't parse the input provided as a date value. So basically, when appending tables in Power BI, sometimes error occurs due to differences in the way data is stored or interpreted, even if the column names and data types appear identical. In our case, the issue was with the transaction date column, which is already in the date data type, but caused errors after appending. The transaction date column in Maven Market Transaction 1997 and Maven Market Transaction 1998 is set to date data type. Despite the same column name and data type, Power BI encountered errors during the append operation. But why? This happens when there are underlying format inconsistencies or locale mismatches. For example, one table may store dates in month, date, year format, that is US style. Another table may store dates in date, month, year format, that is European style. When Power BI appends the data, it tries to interpret all dates as a single format, leading to errors if mismatches exist. If you hover here and see, 58% are errors. If you simply try to remove errors by clicking on this, we might lose important information. So removing errors is not an ideal approach. What if we replace errors? Replacing errors is also not an ideal option because it does not detect or correct the root cause of the problem. Instead, it simply removes or replaces problematic values. Hence, we follow a logical approach by detecting and correcting the issue rather than masking it. So let's click on Maven Market Transaction 1998. If we try to track the steps that we performed from the Update Steps pane, we'll understand where the issue has started. Click on Promoted Headers. Over here, the initial data type was text. And when Power BI has automatically identified, it has identified it as date. So here is the root cause. The problem has started here. If we are currently in Promoted Headers, the data type is text, which means that the data is treated as raw text, maintaining its original formatting, even if there are inconsistencies. From here, we'll try to change it to date data type. Click on Change Data Type. Click on Using Locale. It's asking whether we want to insert a step here. Yes, we want to insert a step. Click on Insert. The data type must be date and the region must be English United States. Click on OK. Let's do the same for 1997 data also. Let's go to the step where the problem has begun. Over here, the data is entirely detected as raw text. From here, we'll try to change it to date. Yes, we want to insert a step. Once the dates are corrected for both the tables, now let's look at appended data. Let's again click on column profiling based on entire dataset and check whether we are able to append it or no. Now if you can see, there are no errors. Once the dates were corrected for both tables, the append operation worked seamlessly because the transaction date column now had consistent formatting. This approach fixed the issue at its root cause instead of masking it with error replacements. Now let's rename this append 1 as transaction data. Since we already have transaction 1997 and transaction 1998 data in transaction data, we can disable these two tables. To disable it, click on Maven Market transaction 1997, right click on enable load option. Click on continue. It will automatically disable the load. We'll do the same for transaction 1998 data also. Click on it, right click on enable load, click on continue, and it is disabled. Now that we have verified the data, we'll click on Close and Apply, which is at the top left corner of the query editor. Click on it. This will load the entire dataset into the main Power BI interface. If you can see here, transaction 1997 and transaction 1998 are disabled. Therefore, we cannot see those two tables here. Now that we have our data successfully loaded, let's save it. To save it, click on Ctrl S. It is saved successfully. This is all about today's lecture. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.
If you have enjoyed these lessons and want to take your learning to the next level, I invite you to join our live Mastering Business Intelligence with Power BI course. In the live sessions, you'll get to interact directly with expert instructors, work on real-time projects, and receive personalized feedback to accelerate your career. Plus, you'll also gain access to exclusive job updates and opportunities through our LMS to help you land your next role. Don't miss out. Spots for the upcoming batches are limited. Visit the link in the resources section for more details.